Run for Your Life, usually seen at this time, will not be presented tonight, so that we may bring you the following special program.
Please support the Word Balloon podcast by going to patreon.com/wordballoon. Become a part of the League of Word Balloon listeners. That's patreon.com/wordballoon. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's time for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. The inauguration of the first Word Balloon book club. I'm looking for Oming. I know Oming somewhere, so we'll get him eventually. But I'm here. My co-host and dear friend Brian Bendis joining us. Tom King joining us. Good to see everybody. And we're talking today about the first volume of Criminal, the excellent Sean Phllips, Ed Brubaker fantastic graphic novel series that started at Icon. Opening thoughts, gentlemen?
Yeah, spoilers. It's awesome. Thrilled you're here, Tom. Tom and I haven't spoken in a bit, and that's always feels like one of those things that I hate about our business is just you can go months without speaking, without realizing, even though you're thinking nice thoughts about someone. So there's that. We share a lot of space, me and Tom. We share editors and a lot of stuff. So congrats on the Eisner nomination for Helen. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Very cool.
I'm very much not here to steal any thunder. I'm here.
We'll just have a little chit chat before we get into it. Yeah, we're
awesome.
saying hi.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love this book, and I love listening to you guys talk about this book. So I wanted to be here. That was
well. I'm actually thrilled you're here for a couple of reasons. Number one, to talk to you, but number two, so the Jinx World Discord picked this book as the next book club thing. This is where we're bringing the Jinx World Book Club to Word Balloon, where previously we spotlighted Echolands by J.H. Williams and company, and we did Wonder Woman Historia with Kelly Sue. And just like Wonder Woman Historia, this one, it feels, it's weird to speak of in the abstract because I've known Ed for literally 30 years of my life. And was literally this just as we talked on the set of Criminal. So I have here's a friend, and I'm rooting for this project. So it's weird to have an existing relationship to this book, whereas normally, like Echolands, I just loved it. I'm just a fan, just want to talk about it, you know. But this one, weirdly, Ed and I broke into comics the same month at the same company. Low Life and my book debuted at Caliber Comics in the early 90s in the same month. So we've journeyed throughout this industry, coming and going for a very long time, including the fact that while Ed was prepping his TV show, he was literally living in this room right behind me. So that's how strange it is. But at the same time, I feel like this represents a lot of things I love about comics, and a lot of like the things I like to really celebrate with our students about comics. I was excited to talk about it in the abstract, even though for some of you who do or do not know, it's not abstract to me. It's a big pile of wind that I'm really proud of my friends for doing. So though I don't know Sean Phllips very well, so even though I'm a big fan, I just haven't had a lot of run-ins. So it's only half weird for me to be talking about this book in the abstract. But Tom, so and that said, am I correct in assuming you don't have that kind of relationship to this book? You just love it as a fan?
I do just love it as a fan. I can connect a little bit of you to me because our first AD on Lanterns, our first day of filming, showed up with his Criminal like jacket that he had just got returning from filming. So there was some continuity. I was like, oh my God, he left Criminal, went to Lantern. So it's all like a big family.
So you're going to show us a clip of Lanterns right now?
Yes, definitely. That's
all right. Show
that's why I'm here today.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I obviously I know Ed. People should know he's an incredibly kind and supportive creator, and as I admire Brian, I admire Ed. But yeah, I came to this through John. You posted this week your rerun of your Brubaker talk from, it must have been 06, right?
It was before issue 1 was coming out. Here, cover of issue 1. I've got it ready from the Icon days. Boom.
I listened to that when I was overseas in the Pakistan, Afghan war, and we had access to Amazon. It took like 2 months to get to us. And I ordered it in 2 months. So this is my very copy that got sent to me when I was in.
Oh, that's great, man.
There it is.
That's awesome.
I just showed for the audio audience, I just showed the Kindle cover as well. I love Sean's interiors and covers are just incredible.
No, it sounds incredible. Yeah.
So.
So you're on the road, you're out on assignment, and you're downloading and inhaling comics and listening to Ed talk. To double what Tom said, I was thrilled that you posted that OG interview with Ed. It's fascinating to hear like where his brain was at then versus where his brain is at now, and like where comics was versus comics, what's similar, what's different. So I really thought it was an excellent archive conversation. And if for those joining us either live or later, do check it out. I was quite delighted by it. I don't remember listening to it the first time, so I was really into it. I mean, it was 20 years ago. I may have.
Yeah, no, you're right, man. It was 19 years ago, and it's also that's honestly, guys, that's what I wanted to do with Word Balloon is really have this kind of record, and just in like Amazing Heroes in the Comics Journal, it is so great to go back and see where everybody's head was at the moment when this stuff was happening. So it's great. Well, here I'm going to invite some people in, and Yannick, welcome.
Yannick.
Oh, hi.
And Wes, good to see you, Wes. And Dylan and Pau, how do you do?
Hey.
Hello.
Good to see you guys.
Love you guys.
And Zach is with us.
Hey, guys.
Long time guy. So, and Sean, I'm going to put you in. Well, actually, he has to connect his devices to get in. I don't know if that could it be Sean Phllips. God only knows.
I don't know. I saw he retweeted one of my links, so he does know about this in the abstract. Anyway, well, Tom, while we're getting everyone cooking, so you're out, you're on assignment. Are you toying with the idea of being a writer when all this is hitting you, or are you writing already? Like, where are you in your timeline?
Yeah, I was on a bizarre assignment where we were there was just like two of us on the edge of the world doing a job, and the job was one of those jobs where it's like there would be an emergency and they'd need you for 3 hours, but then the real challenge was waiting the other 3 days through the emergency and not killing yourself.
Wow.
But while you were alone. And so I read I was getting way back into comics, and I was starting to just out of boredom to start writing at night. These are very embarrassing stories. I feel like I was, and at the time I was
writing. I have a reason for asking. It's not embarrassing.
Okay, good.
I'll get you there.
And I'm just having the remembering this because I was starting my first novel, which became Once Crowded Sky. And it was originally called Without because it was a tribute to a book at the time I was obsessed with called Powers. And so it was supposed to be Without Powers, but I cut the Powers part out as a tribute to you. And then later the publisher made me change the title. But I'm remembering that now that my first novel when I was starting then was a takeoff of how inspired I was by you.
I promise I wasn't fishing. I promise I was headed to
it. No, you have no idea. I don't think I've ever told that story before.
You've never told me that. But I will say that I feel the reason I asked you was that there are certain books and movies and musicians that there's something about the work that does inspire people to sit down and try it. I want to write, not in the, this idiot can do it, I can do it, but in I'm feeling very good and I want to see if I can make this happen for myself, or because particularly when something's like street level or indie, there's like a grimy kind of DIY look to it. Like it gets closer to, oh, maybe I can do that, versus, you know, Deadpool versus the universe, where you're like, well, there's a lot of things standing in my way of doing that. But this is, yeah, maybe me and my friend could sit down and make this happen for ourselves, some version of it, or there's a truth being spoken that someone wants to reflect on or answer to or respond to. So I was wondering if this was one of those books for you.
It was one of those books today when I read it 7 hours ago. I was reading it and feeling guilty that I wasn't creating anything like this or that was this good. So yes, it was that 20 years ago, and it remained it when I reread it today.
It's one of my favorite magic tricks of just stuff. Just like there are certain things that makes people want to do stuff, and there's no way for the creators to know that while they're doing it, but it absolutely happens. The Matrix was like this. It was like everyone saw the Matrix wanted to do something, wanted to create something cool, and including the Matrix. So that's awesome. I'm thrilled that you're here, and I'm thrilled that you had it. So you reread it today. Who else reread it recently? Yeah, on our call. So this is everyone's fresh headed. I will say, in my weirdness of this conversation, I think I can only really relate heartily on what a genre nerd this book turns me into. Like I've spent a great deal of my time in the same space that this book birthed out of, but coming up with my own ideas and stuff. But like, you know, working in the crime genre and what it represents and what you can do with it and what people bring to it just delights me to no end. It was my first genre I was published in, and everyone around me was trying to like tell a truth they saw on the street, or some kind of, hey, the world sucks, I should write about that. You know, it's like when you're young and you're gonna realize that there's hypocrisy and bullshit and it's never going away. You immediately want to write about it. And reading this volume again, it's got, and I think Tom will know exactly what I'm talking about. It reads like, oh, they don't think they're getting a second volume. Yeah. Like I like, and there's a good and bad that comes with that. It's like you write it like the kitchen sink because you think that's it. I got 5 issues to make my point, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I get to make this for 10 more years. Oh, let me slide back and be a little more masterful in my choices and whatnot. So there's that. The other thing that's here that I like to get everyone's opinion on is the use of the narration. It's kind of like, it doesn't tell a story so much as here's the author has a statement to make about the world, and it's a little complicated, and I want to sell you on why this bad person is worth your time, right? And I really love how that, it isn't like an Alan Moore thing. There's a very unique way of using their narration where I want to say something about the world and this character, and I don't want you to judge them just yet. Just sit back and let me get all the pieces on the table and then see what you think of it. And it's a lot like, and this was born out of the same space that excuse me, The Sopranos, Breaking Bad, all the characters in the book of Difficult Men, where these people are broken and fighting back, and there's a reason for it. And let's not judge what's good and bad just yet, right? Let's look at the gray and see what we think. So I was curious what everyone thought about that.
Before everyone else starts, I just want to say that I think the narration reminds me of a lot of classic crime movies. And even films like Sunset Boulevard, which starts with Bill Holden dead in the pool, and here's my story. And these are not, these aren't good people, but it is kind of a classic trope. And I know, obviously, based on my conversations with Ed, not only the one that I played last week, but that, this is kind of a running narrative of, this is a bad guy, this is my story. And this is the world. But Yannick, because I know you got limited time, please go first.
First hi guys, pleasure to be here. I really like what you just said about it, because I feel like the narration is is conversational without me having to talk. Like, and it's just like, look, man, I'm like this because this is just the way it is, and it's how I was raised. And the action and the story that is shown underneath the narration is always, well, here's what I do with how I'm explaining how I am. Here's how I carry myself throughout the world, and how I, in this case, like he decides to be like a pickpocket at the beginning, and you see that he tries to get away from that violence that sort of explodes at the end, which is like sort of my favorite part of the book, is that when I guess this big flaw as a noir character that you can't avoid, like eventually like he's brought there. And it's funny because like the second time I reread it, I sort of had forgotten that part of the story. I was like, this is great. Like, I don't need him to have like this other big flaw, but when it pops up, it still surprises me, and it makes all the sense in the world because he's been telling me how he is as a person, and it just unfolds naturally so well that it's why I came back to that book like a bunch of times of trying to take it apart to understand it better. But sometimes when I do that, I just get back into it. I get submerged back into it again. I'm just reading it again. So and I think that all comes through that narration, that it's so personable that suddenly it makes me forget about technique or structure. I just get locked into that character, and it's the same for all the other volumes as well.
I think also what I love about it is it's again that using the Alan Moore, like when we were kids, Alan Moore was like the first person that was really using narration to show us anything but what we could see. Like if we could see it, he's not going to talk about it. Like show don't tell is the best version, right? So you're reading Swamp Thing and you're hearing a lot about the moisture in the air and how things smell, like things you couldn't tactily get from the visual, right? And in this regard, it's a little different, but like you're never ever hearing the character tell you something you can clearly see, right? It's like it's additive or in conflict with, and one of my favorite things I like to do is play with the unreliable narrator, which is you're seeing something, but what the person's telling you is completely different than what you're saying. And then you have to like judge whether you're being fibbed to or this person is having an issue with reality or their place in it, right? So, and with criminals, there's a lot of rationalization and justification for stuff like, well, I want to really tell you why I'm going down this road that I know is a bad road, but this is the reasons why, and my argument is bulletproof, and let me tell you why, right? So those are the things I enjoy about it as much. And also Ed, and it shouldn't matter, but it does to me, of all of my friends that are writers, you can't hear Ed in his writing. Like if you talk to Ed, Tom, you've talked to Ed, John, you've talked to Ed, it doesn't sound like Ed. Yeah. And of all my friends, there's like little versions of themselves that show up in their work. And that's not bad. It's how you hear the world, is how you see the world. It reflects in your work. It's fascinating to me how, like, you read Captain America, you read Daredevil, you read, like, you can't hear Ed. And that's, I'm fascinated by. Again, I don't think it matters. It's just something that blows me away.
Anybody else? Zach, did you want to say something?
Yeah, sure. I loved how he gets you invested in the characters. Even again, these people aren't good, but just like for example, the uncle that's losing his he's got dementia or Alzheimer's, and there's just a couple quick lines in there that he talks about, and it's just what he means to Leo as a person and everything. And even though they're criminals, they're not necessarily good people, you're still invested in them because of how he was able to bring them in to Leo's point of view and how he sees them. And when you said about Brian about the he may not be able to get another arc, I'm so glad he did, because if you read back now 20 years later, all the seeds he planted with all the characters that were going to show up later are all like in those first couple issues, I was reading it now again after all this time, so happy to see it completely painted a different picture reading it again now.
Carl, I did the same thing. I started reading in the wrong place in a reread, going, "Well, I don't remember any of this." And then I went, "Oh, great!" And then I got into the reading of the background where Ed and Sean are very clearly like, read it in any order you possibly want. It doesn't matter, and it'll all the stitches stitched together, no matter how you read it, and that's kind of goddamn impressive. It really is. You're never lost. You're never not knowing where to look. And it's so funny because even on Powers, like we literally volume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and people still go, "Where do I start? Where do we start reading?" I'm like, it's numerical. And so I am always in a bit of a panic about having the reading order in the right space, and it's amazing to have this project that does not need it. And it's perfectly manicured to be that. What do you think, Tom?
I just have to take this opportunity to ask you this. I have this grand theory of comics, which, like any grand theory, isn't 100% true, but I use it in my mind to simplify things. The comics, generally speaking, at their beginning, were modeled after books with pictures. If you go back and read the 50s, 60s, 70s comics, you're reading a lot of time jumps between the panels where the things are filled in by the narration. It's a different kind of pacing. You know, Superman will be on the Daily Planet in panel 1, and panel 2 he's flying towards the monster, panel 3 he's fighting the monster, panel 4 the monster's knocked out. Like it just goes, and then the all the in between panels are filled in by the captions. And it seems, having been an intern and reading it, you and Kevin Smith and Warren Ellis kind of came in and sort of smashed that down and said comics aren't novels with pictures, they're movies that operate slower, so that panel 1 is your fist here and panel 2 is your fist here. And that's very much how I write comics to this day, based on that influence. And to me, this in reading it, I was like, oh, which is why I envy it, because I don't do this enough. This feels like a throwback. It feels like that novel with pictures where he's moving between the panels a lot more than I personally would move between the panels, and he's using the narration to connect them, so you feel like you're reading. He's using that book with pictures model to tell a movie story to me.
Agreed. And if I can jump in before I forget, the other thing a lot of people here are people who have been taking our classes and studying, and I know they're on a creative journey themselves. And a lot of people here are people who have been taking our classes and studying. Oh, no, I'm hearing myself delay. No, that's never good. But I will say that what I'm fascinated by is you know, like there's different ways to tell comic book stories, and a lot of times people will like fall in love with, let's say, Criminal or like Saga or something by Tom. And if you're on a journey, that's great to be really inspired and jazzed up by someone's stuff. But I have lucked out and gotten so much out of, I love Frank Miller, but let me go find out what Frank Miller was invested in. Let's go to the source of the well, basically, right? So creatively, it's great to have your nerd out, but also do some investigation, find out where this came from. And often, for me, going back to the original well, like for Frank Miller, introduced me to Will Eisner. Like I didn't know who Will Eisner was until he started talking about it when I was a kid. So I go back to that and go, oh, so the spirit, and then I start making like stronger individualist choices from the source material, right? And this we did this on Daredevil. We did like go back to the original place, not to the place that you started your fandom from. So I'm looking at Criminal like this as well. Like there is versions of crime comics that had been out that had a language to them, a la Sin City, things like this, that you could and so many people had been ripping off or trying to be part of that energy and trying, oh, you like that, I'll do that, right? But if you go back to the well, like Ed and Sean did, like go back to the original source of where this stuff came from, you get just a much richer place to start. And I tell all of our students, wherever they are in their walk of life, do some investigation. Go back in time see where this came from. And I absolutely think Criminal is a version of that. And you can also hear they talk about in the background matters. There's a lot of Ed talking about, and said it on your podcast. This is, I don't care what it sells. I'm not trying to make a hit. Like there's a lot of talk about, well, what if you don't care what it sells? What would you do? Like Mel, Ed's wife, said this to him. Well, what if we don't care? Like, well, Captain America's paying the bills. Let's go nuts. And
Well,
I
also,
think,
go ahead, finish your thought, Brian. Sorry.
that is always where you should be. Like worrying about what things will sell in the short term or the long term, versus putting something out and just believing in it, and the audience will find it. And here we are decades later having this conversation that he probably dreamt of when they were starting. If someone will take this seriously enough to consider it in the conversation. So I just want to put that out as another lesson to learn from this book is go to the source. Don't worry about what's hot. Don't worry about what you like, that you care about. And you can literally make people fall in love with something with your energy.
Brian, I wanted to ask because this obviously started as an Icon book. And Icon was really set up as kind of a thank you, I think, and you correct me if I'm wrong, to yourself, to Ed. Jason Aaron had an Icon book. Others did as well. And it was that opportunity of, well, what do you want to make while you're doing the Marvel 616 people? We
were doing Powers at Image, and that had run its course for varied reasons that no need to be brought up here. And they're all good and juicy. And I literally was at a dinner with my Marvel people, and I said, yeah, I think I gotta find a home for Powers. And Dan Bucky goes, oh, wait 1 minute. And I went, what? And like, never in a million years, like Marvel doesn't do creator own. Like I wasn't asking. Like that's, I literally was saying I need to go find a place. And it ended up that they were already considering, well, why don't we just have all of their stuff over in our catalog and not have to share the space. And so it was, so Powers went there, and then Ed's Criminal, and Jason Aaron's Wrath of Man, I believe it was called. But there was a handful of projects, all of which were cool as hell, and it was very smart of Marvel at the moment to give us a home in a space. And again, this was a little pre-Disney, so it was a little easier for them to make that space available. I mean, I remember there was a time not too long after where someone at Disney goes, wait, we don't own this? It was a conversation that got to us eventually. Sure. But sure. we were at Powers is at Marvel for most of its run. People don't realize that kick ass. I knew there was a big one. I was blanking, but Kick Ass was probably the biggest hit out of Icon too. So they all it was a very good experience. It also made us all feel, those who knew the history of Marvel and creator-owned comics were like, oh damn, we did that which our forefathers were not able to do, and that felt pretty damn good. You know what I mean? And it was a healthy space the whole time. They could keep it going.
I bet a symbolic father to Criminal was Gil Kane's His Name is Savage. Because, that was, and that is, I mean, God bless Gil for having the guts to make this magazine formatted comic that had lousy distribution. And I was able to snag, on eBay or an original issue. But I remember when it came out later as well, and they reprinted it a million times. And it clearly in the Gil Kane thing, based on kind of the ideas of Point Blank, the Lee Marvin crime movie. And Savage to me looked very much like a Lee Marvin character. But yeah, I think that kind of is a, an earlier ancestor to
for sure,
books that all you guys were doing. Yeah.
Oh, Steranko did one. What was
Steranko's? Oh God, I bought that too. I bought that off the magazine rack. Anybody on the Chandler? That's right.
Yeah. I mean, they're like pre-Sin City. There are dozens of really interesting crime comics that funnel through the pages of Heavy Metal and Epic Illustrated and all kinds of different spaces.
Even in the late 40s, early 50s, Arnold Drake and Matt Baker, It Rhymes with Lust.
Yeah,
was a Comics, great early. Absolutely.
Yeah, so of course, CC. You're absolutely right, Okie. Thank you, dude.
Yeah, I think we're kind of zooming in a little bit on the creator-focused, creator-owned And I was just doing some Kirby stuff last week, and fell into like his later days with Pacific Comics and Eclipse Comics, and it just my heart was like, shout out to every publisher that took a big swing that didn't land in the moment, but really helped the overall system. Some of these companies didn't make it, but they set the table for the companies that were able to make it. And I know that's kind of sounds like false praise or whatever. Like it doesn't help anybody, but I did want to like say thank you, Eclipse Comics, because
Oh yeah,
a lot of us are living by that business model right now, even though it didn't work for them.
Tad, you want to chime in?
I just wanted, because I just had like 4 of the last thoughts kind of came together all together, because you're talking about narration. Bendis was talking about go to the source material. John just mentioned Point Blank, which was based on a Parker novel.
That's right.
And really, what Criminal had me start digging into was the books and movies that Brubaker would talk about at the back.
Yes.
Probably more all Parker. And one of the things that I love about Criminal that is only in Parker if you read all of Parker. Parker like famously doesn't do it, except that it does, is that like the narration is what makes the criminals human. The narration is about him, again, Parker famously not human, like, oh no, I have my fun time, and except that if you read the entire thing, you see him develop a relationship that does mean something to him. And even as much as he insists to himself that, so I wonder, just random thoughts on like, how much do you think that what some people would view as like unnecessary to a crime story, but character depth adds to it? Because it's my favorite part of the story, and I forget it every time before I read it again. Is like the I take care of my uncle with Alzheimer's. Oh, I have to deal with these real world things. I mean, so often when you read a crime story, you don't have to deal with how do I find a new nurse on short notice? But like in real life, you might have to. West point a hand up too.
Yeah. Well, John, you reposted that interview with Ed from way back, and I re-listened to it. One of the things he talks about is he didn't want to just make criminals who were just like Terminator badasses. Like he wanted to humanize them. And I think that's, and also just to go back, like, talk about the narration, humanization of bad people, these guys did this with Sleeper for 24 issues, and my God, that totally, this was in the same realm. Like I picked this up because of Sleeper, and I think Ed, never met the guy, but he seems smart enough to know that you need to make your characters good or bad. You need to make them interesting. You need to give them layers. Otherwise, it's all just, sizzle and no steak.
Agreed. Dylan, did you want to jump in?
I just wanted to add to what Wes and Tad were saying as well. I was reading an interview from 2007 with Ed called, it was by a website called Chud, I believe. But he spoke about wanting to humanize these characters and talk in a way that, like, you might default and think that everyone in this world is kind of a bit of an asshole, but he's saying they're just kind of getting by and they exist within this realm, and you're going to have people who are at the extreme end of things with other people who just exist with a set of rules and a way of life, and kind of look at everyone else through this lens, through the context of the book, that you're kind of, if you're paying your taxes and doing your job, that you're kind of a chump. And he said he wanted to look at it through a realistic eye. In one way, he said, if you look at it in that way, kind of that, it doesn't hold together for a real world, but if you put it through that kind of noir, private eye, romanticized viewpoint, it really creates a book like Criminal. And it was a big part of his inspiration. And I thought that really stood out. And if there was just something I could add as well, like just, in the Jinx World classes, we talk a lot about like, characterization and dialogue and throwing a character up against a wall. I think this story is a great example of that, because there's 2 points. You know, when there's a scene when they're in the diner or a section, and Leo doesn't escalate a situation with 2 men who kind of try to start a fight, and he says, you know, violence just, it's got a ripple effect, you know that, and I try not to cause any ripples. And obviously, if you know where the book leads and the finale, and kind of where his mindset goes to not really wanting to get out of something alive, I think seeing the character at these different points throughout the story, even the introduction, you just get a great example of throwing the character against the wall and really seeing how they react. And I just thought that was a really great demonstration of that.
Yeah, Dylan, what Dylan's talking about is like I also at a young age, and I know I can't speak for Ed in this as well, like when you're attracted to a genre, and it could be anything, sci-fi, fantasy, like when a genre that has existing tropes and expectations that come with it, you can like be like luxuriating in that genre without actually like putting words to the rules of it, and then someone tells you the rules of them and you go, oh shit, like it's like someone bringing you the 10 commandments after you kind of knew 6 of them without like putting words on it. And this happened to me with crime fiction. I started writing that which I was seeing on the streets of Cleveland, and that which was entertaining me in the mediums I loved outside of comics, and I was trying to apply them. Like, you know, Richard Price was a big author for me that I was like, oh, he's an author that does research, and I'll do research like he does research. And David Simon's book Homicide, like, oh, I'll go do that. I'm not just write like them, but the research that when I will go follow the path and see if that's something I should be bringing to comics, because this end result is making me feel different than other things, right? And so in that research, like I remember it was in the weirdest place. It was like in a photo portfolio in Vanity Fair or something, or interview magazine, where someone was like doing a film noir spread and then said, here are the rules of film noir, and then said them, and I went, oh my God, these are the rules. Like, and I'd already written like thousands of pages without putting the words to them. One of them is that the character, the city is a lead character of the story, not just in stature, but that the city actually affects the outcome of the story. Like there's something about the city that changes, like it would be different in Chicago than it would be in LA. Like it actually changes the outcome. And that by really like getting into it, and all of us start with that which we know. Like I grew up in Cleveland on the dirty, grimy streets of Cleveland, so I started writing about that, right? Like that's what I could see on my bike. That's what I would have near misses with all the time. Another one is you take your lead character and you grab him by the collar and you throw him up against the wall and you slap him around and you go, all right, what do you got? What are you in it? And some characters cower, and some characters fight back even though they can't win, and some characters start maneuvering. They start planning and plotting how the revenge I will have for this moment may come in 5 years, but it started right now, right? And every character is different, but you're stating who the character is. Obviously, Criminal's filled with these ideas, right? All of them done, all added by the very classical storytelling idea of being very much like the camera is always where it needs to be for every single moment, and it is like almost moment to moment storytelling where we're just the camera is going to show us everything we need to see and nothing else. No fancy tricks, no like hyperly overly designed meditations on comic book layout. It's just, here's the story being told, which I will say, for those who don't know, is as hard to do as if you were doing the most elaborate kind of J.H. Williams like design work. Keeping the camera exactly where it needs to be and keeping the focus on the story moment to moment is very difficult and kind of spectacular to see done so well by Sean. So
Jump
it's
in, Ethan.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm glad that's where you went, because I wanted to come back to this. I wanted to come back to Sean, because Sean is I was listening to Blank Check, which I know is one that you listen to, Brian, you've been on it and stuff like that. So I'm listening to Blank Check, and they're doing, I think it's The Last Action Hero. They're talking about John McTiernan.
That is a world-class episode of Blank Check, by the way. That is a over 4 hours long Jason Mantzoukas and Paul Scheer episode. Yeah.
For the first hour, the first like 30-40% of it is them just talking about John McTiernan, and he did Predator, Die Hard, Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games. In that, and he's not one of those. He's not an auteur. He's not. Sorry, Patriot Games wasn't like in that order, but
yeah.
But he's not an auteur. He's not somebody like Wes Anderson. Like when you see the shot, like you know that this is a Wes Anderson film or something like that. He is just good at putting the camera exactly where it needs to be, so that everybody knows what's going on. Everybody knows the character, the action, like everything. It is perfect. And I have a note that I wrote this summer when we were talking about reading this, and it says Sean Phillips equals John McTiernan if he never had a bad movie. And everything he does, and I'm looking through these panels, and the panels are not flashy, but the city is absolutely a character. The garbage trucks are characters. The bars in jail are a character. Everything is as important in the space as the characters themselves. Mm-hmm. So that was just one thing. I just wanted to. It's the most deceptively simple, perfect directing. And I just want to give that a little bit of its due, because it's so hard. It's so hard to do, but man, he nails it, and it's so effortless for him.
Yeah, and what you're seeing is that, as you guys said, they've already kind of got their hands dirty on Sleeper. They've figured each other out and know exactly where they can go, page to page, and there you can feel the Tom knows this feeling like, oh, I can write all of this because it's gonna land. Like I don't have to worry about the hardest thing you have to worry about. Will any of this land the way? Yes, and it'll be better than your writing because of what's coming. You're going to reach towards something you couldn't get to on your own. So,
but it's not over rendered. It's not.
No,
like you can see he can hit this on a deadline. Like I think that's. I work with many different artists. You can get the greatest storytellers who you give them this story. You're like, okay, give me 4 years.
I have that note. It's right here. Often sometimes there's no background. He never misses a deadline. He's all the John McTiernan, and those were all the notes that were about John McTiernan on that episode of Blank Check. And every time they start talking about what he does, I'm like, I'll bet you Phillips never misses a deadline.
By the way, this week's Blank Check is about the new Mission Impossible. It's probably one of their best episodes because that is a perfect podcast movie. It is.
Have you seen it, Brian?
Have you seen the movie yet? It's fascinating movie. It's stitched together from 4 different complete shoots of a movie, and parts of it are the most amazing thing you've seen all year, and other parts are like, oh, come on, guys. And so listening to the Blank Check crew who loves the franchise as much as I do, and I really love it, talk about it, you'll learn a lot. I really took a lot out of this latest podcast, not to derail, which I will often do, but that was a good one. Tom, a lot of people are reflecting some of the complementary similarities between you and your collaborators, and the way Ed and Sean work together. And there is, let's talk about. Would you say the illusion of confidence or actual confidence? Like when you see 2 creators like just really wailing on a page. Like sometimes we know, oh, you didn't see the mess we made before this came out, or no, yeah, that's exactly how it came out of us because we've been practicing. So,
I mean, I think when you have someone you work with a while who you know is really good and has saved you so many times, it is a very freeing moment. It's you're suddenly working with a net, and you know this is going to be beautiful, and I think it makes you a better writer and them a better artist because you know when to trust each other and when not to. And I can see it in their collaboration, in how the ease of the storytelling and in showing just the right angle and just the right this. You know, I think these are not too, like we say what happens is when you're working with an artist that sort of you're clashing with, then you have to make up with it with the words, and then your words become less efficient because you need more words or less words, and you can see like there's such an efficiency to the words here in reading it. Like he doesn't use adjective he doesn't need to use. It's all there to tell the story. I think that comes from the collaboration.
And I saw this with Ed on other projects at Marvel too, where there would just be an effort to release like, how few words can I use here to really get my point across without, and for screenwriters, that's always like the big mission is you don't use 10 words when 4 will do, right? And for those of us who struggle with that and from their natural voice, it is, when you see it done well, it can really look like a beautiful magic trick. It really is like, wow, that was absolutely the right line of dialogue in the right place on the right panel, and it just looks incredible.
Hey, Dylan, don't sweat the cat running across the camera. That is.
I was worried a Cthulhu was attacking you guys, but if it's not, it's fine.
Sorry.
There's all of a sudden there's tentacles in the camera.
Sorry.
Hey, I just want to let the people that aren't on camera that want to get in, and I've got the banner running underneath us, leave a comment in the regular comment section, because we can only have 10 people at a time on camera. My buddy Rudy, who's a great guy, used to work at one of my favorite stores here in suburban Chicago, has popped in and out. But if you're not able to get in, please chime in the comments. That's what the banner is for. And I think for the next one, I'm going to do a pre-recorded Zoom, because I know we can let more people in than just 10 at a time if we do a Zoom. So maybe
we'll figure it out. And next time we'll have Ed on talking about Tom. I like this idea.
No, that's don't do that.
Just real quick, to go back to Sean Phillips,
please.
Going back to the diner scene, I think Dylan, you mentioned with Leo and Greta, the facial work that he does, is so great. And I know his style has changed. I think he switched to digital within the last 10 years, but it's still all there. He's able to convey motion, physical motion, but emotion on characters' faces. It's always been great, and it's always just right there, and it's just sickening.
It is. Thank you for saying that last word. That's exactly what it is, because as I was coming up as a creator and drawing my own stuff, obviously this is the space I was trying to excel in. And when you have people like Sean and Michael Lark and Oming, and Alex Maleev, that was my North Star. I'm like, well, it's so frustrating when it looks like someone else is doing it effortlessly, and you are sitting at your drawing table struggling. Well, I don't know if that's the case. I mean, every panel might be a struggle for Sean, but he makes it look effortless, which is, you will find out if you're making your own books, your job is to make it look like it wasn't a giant emotional turmoil, pain in the ass, but that's it. So yeah.
I was wondering if I could chime in. Just
please.
We can start cycling.
Oh yeah, by all means, Travis. Jeez, I was going to say, and also Sean, you haven't said anything yet, and I know Dylan wants to say something. So guys, just
if Sean, you're not Sean Phillips, right? Okay, just making sure.
Well, because we have Tom King here, and I know you're a huge film noir fan, and I just think that it's definitely worth kind of delving in at least a little bit to the film noir influences of the book. And obviously out of the past, Ed in the podcast mentioned his favorite film noir, but I also definitely was getting, especially from the art, more of some of the French Melville films, because I think what a lot of the American film noirs, which are great and we all love, is they're black and white, but some of those 70s and some of those movies in France, because of those those hard colors, and how Sean just kind of will make a whole page green or something like that. I feel like a lot of that is definitely seen in those films, and just the general sense of the morality is very sketchy.
Well, completely agree. And I'm also kind of minorly obsessed with the evolution of genre in the time that I've been making stuff. Genre used to like we're talking about the rules of genre, and they were strident rules of which you were doing it this way, or you're probably wrong, or you're probably doing something incorrect. But now genre, it's almost like a flavor, like an accentuation to your story. Like now it's a crime, romance, sci-fi, fantasy. It's like everyone is trying to elevate to something else, which is where we should be as a culture. And if everyone's doing it and so many people are trying it, the genres themselves, actually the importance of them kind of falls away towards something else. So at the same time, it's to me very interesting to have these like very modern genre statements using older rules, right, to stay modern stories. I'm because most of what you see on like the streamers and stuff are blended genre, right, and that's great. I love most of it. I adore, and a lot of us are practicing the blended genres. Tom, me are always practicing blended genre. So I just want to celebrate the actual, like, you can't blend them unless you know them, right?
Go ahead, Dylan. You got something else?
Yeah, it was just to talk about Sean Phillips's art. We were talking earlier about his kind of acting in his characters, but he kind of had he had a background at one stage. I'd read in an interview with Bunty and I believe Mandy as well, but it was a British comics. It was kind of a quote unquote comics for girls. Like they would have proudly kind of, advertised like that. And my mom actually, she used to get them in the newsagents in Ireland, and they have a Bunty for Gardener kind of thing. But I think that also really helps him. He draws women very well. He draws facial expressions. There's a lot of, there's a lot of dialogue based in that, as well as some action in those older kind of comics. And I think you can see that kind of transition its way into Criminal. And then just, I know Travis was talking about the noir side of it as well. We see like Sean works a lot with Criterion, like he does the covers for some of the Criterion.
Yes, and envious am I of that.
Yeah. I get it.
Oh, who doesn't like it?
Yeah. You mentioned those comics, Dylan. Would the British comic Misty be part of that genre?
It's actually 3 a.m. here, but if my mom was awake,
my man.
I'd get her and I would. She would know.
Bring the camera.
No, unfortunately, but
because I've read Misty and I see that kind of beautiful face in a lot of those Misty. And I've seen other creators talk about it, and I had access to it, and I grabbed it, and I'm like, oh man, these are beautiful comics. Yeah, man.
I wouldn't be surprised. You definitely find the Mandy and the Bunty ones. They'd be kind of printed on newsprint almost. If they survive well, but you find them cheap enough.
Sure.
I also have here as well I guess.
I'm going to zoom in. Hold on a minute.
The deluxe editions, and you can kind of see the painterly style on the cover.
Boom. There you go.
Oh, sorry, guys.
No, it's my slowness. Don't sweat it, Dylan.
No, you're all good. But you can see the painterly style, and
yes,
if we were staying on art for 1 minute, I'd just say, you can see that Sean has trained Jacob, his son, who's an incredible talent as well in his own right. And if you like Criminal, I'd highly recommend Newburn.
Well, also, that original colorist for Criminal was that original colorist was Val Staples, and Val was great. Incredible, and really, I mean, again, you can see it in these colors. So yeah, I hear what you're saying, man.
It's a great language. Anyway, if you need to kick us out, thank you.
All right, hey man, thanks so much for being on at 3 a.m. in the morning. Good Lord.
And you keep great company and work on the podcast. You really helped throughout the day, so thank you. And
my pleasure, Dylan. No, it means a lot that you listen, man. Thanks so much.
Listening. Thank you.
Thanks, brother. Take it easy. There you go, man. Yeah, I know. I didn't get the cat's name either. And Powell.
I did want to. There was one thing I wanted to throw out there as a point of conversation as well. I have a favorite page of Coward, and it won't be a surprising page, but when he discovers the dead body at the end of the book, I wanted to point out to the students in the room there's a storytelling technique being applied there that is invisible but excellent. It's one of my favorites. It's called rhythm and release. And I learned it when I was a child from Mel Brooks, who does it with his comedy, and then Steven Soderbergh does it in his films, and the Limey has a lot of it in there. But rhythm and release is basically you set a rhythm, almost a musical rhythm with your words and pictures, and it starts a rhythm, and if you do it correct, you and the audience are not even thinking about it. You're just along for a ride that feels a certain way, and then all of a sudden, stop. And because you made the rhythm so consistent, when you turn the page and you're silent, when you turn the page and there's a moment, it really can land, because you are now like you're defying the almost a subconscious expectation of what you think you're going to get, because you now had it like 125 times. I've turned the page and felt a certain way, and then all of a sudden you took all that away from me, and then you're making me re-engage with a story, and then it hits emotionally. Like all you're left with is how I feel when I look at it, and be the bass player. And but that there is a it works for comedy and it works for horror, because then when people say comedy and horror have the same like creative impulses, it's the same thing where you're like dun, 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 surprise. And I'm just an enormous fan of it. You can apply it to just about anything you're working on, if you consider it. And you have to think about like what your rhythm is. Like sometimes the book reveals its rhythm. Sometimes you know what it is before you start. But once you figure out what the rhythm of your piece is, you can start fucking with expectation. And The Criminal does that to a grand degree.
I agree.
Putting it
Hey,
out there
guys,
for discussion.
people in the chat or people here on camera, have you seen the 70s neo-noir Night Moves, the Gene Hackman movie? All right, I see some nods. Excellent. I am fascinated by that. And actually,
why
am I
This is the
fascinated?
Melanie Griffith part.
Well, yeah, no, yeah, that's nice too. Well, she's underage. I'm dead. Don't make me a dirty old man. That's
Put
not
a
what I'm
trap.
talking about. Exactly. That's not what I'm talking about. No,
Takes it
but,
back to Cherry 2000 to watch Night Moves. Anyway,
I hated Cherry 2000. I got to be honest.
Everyone hates Cherry 2000.
Night Moves. The way it. First of all, man, that movie is so many layers to it. And once you see it all, and you go back to the beginning, and it's like, wait a minute, there's a lot of subtext going on that as you're watching, you have no idea. And also, without spoiling, although I would assume with the book club, we are talking about a thing that we've all read, and likely the people that are listening and watching have read it. The ending of Coward is very similar to the ending of Night Moves. And it's interesting because somebody in the comments said that obviously Ed is coming back to here, Zach said it. Excited that Ed and Sean are coming back to Criminal. I'm hoping they finally circle back to telling Leo's next story. Yeah, that's something that Ed has kind of dangled and everything. And Dave points out too, Night Moves is on the Criterion Channel this month in their Gene Hackman collection. Yeah, that's why I watched it with Gene Hackman's passing. And my God, on the surface, a great movie. But again, you're when you really think about it, it's like there's a lot more shit going on than you realize, and I love that about that movie.
It is one of my favorite things to do, and comics are filled with that when they're done well. We grew up with them. When you find there was a callback you didn't even register, right? Like you could read something and you're like, oh, well, there's a lot more here than I thought. Just revisiting the Mission Impossible movies, like I have with my son and stuff. Like you're like, and the spoiler, the last movie is filled with callbacks. It's filled with callbacks to every single movie. And then going back and watching Dead Reckoning last night with my son and saying, oh, even stuff I thought they didn't set up because I was focused on something else. It's all there. Like it's technically all there. It's a beautiful thing to experience. And yeah, you can absolutely feel it here too. And also, like, I know Tom has done this, where you're like, listen, I'm going to throw out these references, and if someone gets them, great. If not, that's okay. But for the 4 people that might get this, they're going to be thrilled to bits with their purchase this weekend. You know that you've done that, right, Tom?
100%. Yeah.
Only did Batman for sure, right?
Yeah. No, that's being in comics is making obscure references that 2 people can get. That's why we're in it, so we can be the 2 people and maybe become friends somehow. Yeah, for sure.
No, every once in a while someone gets a reference and I just want to text them like, listen, I don't have time for this, but we would be friends. Just based on you getting that joke, we would totally be friends. We would totally hang out. So, all right. Do anyone have any thoughts beyond this, or anyone want to jump in that hasn't jumped in yet? Because this is a excellent.
So one thing I want to talk about, Brian, I know was mentioned before. They built such a world with this, from the previous generation of, Leo's dad and the Lawless family. And,
yes.
To the point where, Jenny Leo's old friend, from back in the day, she's a cop now. It's like they lay out such a story for her where it's like, not only was her dad a criminal, not only did she go and become a policeman, she's in internal affairs. And I've written to Ed Brubaker before. I want to know that character's story. She's only in it for like a couple of pages, and the way this has all been laid out, I was like, my God, there's breadcrumbs all over this thing for it. And
it's one of my favorites. Like, it's a kind of a storytelling magic trick where a character, like, and Tom's smiling away because he knows this one where, like, you don't even know if you have a story with the character, and then all of a sudden it comes together on panel. You're like, oh, I have a whole miniseries with this character. Like I know everything about this character, and I wonder if I'll ever have pause to get to it. But just knowing that you know it is exciting.
Tom, would you ever want to go back to Ice from Human Target? And the
as
way
long as
portrayed
Greg's
Ice?
drawing her, yeah, of course.
Believe me, I know.
Yeah, Ice is my youngest favorite character. So because the only thing that impresses him when I write Ice, for some reason, he has globbed onto Ice. So yeah, I would definitely go back. But I the reason I made that face because that was the one. Look, I could not worship this book anymore. I think it's a masterpiece. But that was the one page where I as my writer senses went off and said, "Oh, you're not allowed to give him a best friend who's in the IA so he can solve this one problem." And so I at that point I was like, I was not, but he doesn't use it the way I thought he would, and he twists it so I was like, this feels a little bit Deus Ex Machina to me, like to insert this character who has this much access to this much information that you've never seen before, been hinted at before, but it doesn't, because he doesn't use the character that way. It didn't end up bothering me in the very least, because that character doesn't end up sort of solving any of his problems.
Yeah, there's where I think you can forgive that, and again, I think some of that is your body starts going, oh no, don't.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And it doesn't do it.
Yeah,
but
he doesn't do it.
Get right up to the edge of that, and I know, and again, I hate to bring it up, but there's something in Mission Impossible where one character knows everything you need them to know.
Yes,
right. And then you sit there going, but then you go, oh, but you did set that up eight movies ago. So that's not Deus Ex Machina. That's you following up on a planted seed. They can sometimes feel the same, if not done well. So I get you on that. Now I did, but bringing up a critique of the book, we've been very effusive in our praise. Does anybody have like critical eye here that made them think of? Like the only one I could think of, and this is even this is like hardly a critique, is again this being the first book of many. You know where they go creatively, both in their voices and in their collaboration, and so this does have first book vibes to it sometimes, where like everything like and we have it on Powers too. Like we're working on Powers. Mike's nowhere near, like, he's a completely different artist than he was when we started this journey together. It's so fascinating to me, right? Doesn't make it better or worse. It's just a journey, right? And so as the book continues, it gets better and better and better. Boo-hoo, right?
Yeah, but I also
the first season of Larry Sanders is still pretty great.
that's a good TV example. But I was even going to say, and it was mentioned earlier, that Sleeper really was their dress rehearsal for what they brought to Criminal. And that's what, like, for instance, Greta in Coward is reminiscent of what was her name, the crazy woman in Sleeper,
Miss Misery.
Miss thank you, well done, 10 points. Now we move on to geography. I hear you, man. It's that was my vibe with Greta. Was like, oh, and again, it really, especially listening to the podcast that we did, it's like, and really I lean heavy on Sleeper because that was all I had. But yeah, so I mean, I hear what you're saying, Brian, as far as first book in terms of the criminal world that they set up. But yeah,
and it does look from the comments that everyone's major complaint is they want more of a certain character. Again, kind of a compliment to the creators. So
sure.
These are not harsh. Yeah, there you go. I know. I just it's just so fresh on my mind, and I've learned so much this weekend from this last Mission Impossible. You learned a lot from something that doesn't completely work more than you would from a masterpiece. Boy, it's just filled with that, but it's fun to watch. So you just it's so exciting. So I apologize for bringing it up. so much. It's just fresh on my mind. Anyway, did Tom? Is there a critique that you had in your head about this, other than
this is not a critique, but I just as a discussion, I'd love your take on it. I mean, in writing this and thinking about writing this, and I do you consider that the female lead character is fridged in any ways? I mean, on some level, she exists just to give him pain. I think you could make that argument. I think, but Gail herself, and I'm sure you've talked to her. I've talked to her about this. Thinks it's an oversimplification to just put it in a formula, and that what she means is that these characters have no depth to them and have no three-dimensionality, and they just exist as flat death characters. And I don't think that's what this character is.
Yeah, I was going to say, not in this case, but keep going.
I can see as a storyteller, myself being, and I'm not criticizing him for this doing, but you have to take risks as a storyteller. And that being a moment where I would be at the page, I'd be like, if I kill her, am I doing like, I can see myself hesitating to kill her because of that aspect of it.
But Tom, when you say that thought now is because of the conversation that we've been having in comics about women in refrigerators, because this is, and maybe again, it's because Ed, and I don't mean to speak for Ed, but he was inspired by all those great noirs that he read and grew up with as far as film and that kind of thing where, you know, I mean, I'm going to spoil. Everybody dies in this.
Yes, and that's Leo. Exactly. John. Everybody dies, even Leo.
And also her further depth, having the daughter, and the concern. I mean, that's the thing. So she really isn't just a damsel in distress. She's part of the heist. She's right there with him. And yeah, I just I don't know, man. I felt more kind of getaway kind of feeling of the two of them and what they were going through. If people remember that film, I see Brian with a mile.
The Alec Baldwin, Kim Basinger.
Yeah, absolutely. The remake, much like when I talk about Get Carter, I'm talking about the Stallone one.
The Stallone one,
and not the bloody Michael Caine one.
People do not know that Stallone one exists. It's so funny.
Well, every now and then on Encore, I would see in the listings, oh, Get Carter. Oh, it's the Stallone one. All right.
Yeah, there was one movie years ago. A movie would show up on cable. It was the remake, and they always listed it as the original. Ocean's 11. It was like they would always say it was the George Clooney one. You put it on, and it's the
Rat Pack.
It's the Rat Pack, yeah. And
I love the Rat. Don't shit on the Rat Pack, my man. You're in the wrong room.
To watch the ending of that movie again through modern eyes, not easy to watch. Anyway.
Well, Tom, can I just answer like the question of the fridging thing? I mean, in all fairness to Ed, I guess this was a first issue. He didn't know, and you know, Sean, they didn't know if it was gonna like pop off. So sometimes like falling back on a kind of known and working cliche as a way to like set up a story like that is something that you can't always blame somebody for. I don't know.
No, it's a good note, Tom. Though it's something we wrestle with because it is one of the biggest sins, particularly of comics, that this stuff happens. Hence the phrase and where it came from. So you can't help but consider it. I will say that to me, like no one in this book is safe, right? Like everyone's on equal footing. Everyone's one choice away from doom. So I think that levels the playing field. And also I think, the body of work and the thoughtfulness that goes into each character kind of justifies whatever happens to them. But like, I remember we were having this conversation about Sinners, not Mission Impossible. Sinners, spoilers, not everyone makes it out of that movie alive. And it skates right up to what would be in lesser hands, some tropes and issues that they do not come near, but then you go, no, the table was set, everyone's in trouble, like no one's safe. So you get to the part where if you're saving characters just to save them or to save face, you may be doing the worst version of it. It's even worse than the original trope. To my mind, I don't know. You're being dishonest as a storyteller to the events of the story.
Yeah, that it may not be the fact that she's a female character who dies, but it might lay more closely the fact that she is literally only female character. Like that's it. It's
other than
45 guys
daughter,
and then
as
her.
Her daughter is there. Her daughter is there as well. in the story.
Oh, yes, I suppose she is, isn't she?
You know, yeah, and I mean significant certainly in the last act of the story. So, you know. Oh, Mario, how you doing? Mario, if you Mario, I think was joined us earlier, and if you wanted to come back in, you can. He says, I think if Greta would have been sexually assaulted, then maybe there's more of a valid argument for fridging her. Yeah, I would agree with that, man. And also, as Kari points out, Angela continues on.
The only thing I will say is, and I'm thrilled that got brought up, because I think it's just important for all of us creators to constantly be considering it, and not, you know, the easiest thing we can do is justify just about any bullshit that we come up with. Yeah. And it's better to really consider, like, what's the better take, what's the more original take, and have I justified what's about to happen? Can I go online and argue it gently, right?
Yeah, I'm with you. No, I'm with you.
Yeah, so it's great to bring it up to me.
Good point. Yeah, I'm glad that they're coming back to Criminal. I mean, I've loved everything that Ed and Sean have done since then. But yeah, it's terrific that they are coming back in the fall. And also, Brian, I wanted to ask you, because you were kind of a fly on the wall as they were making the Criminal TV series in Portland, and I know Ed invited you to the set a couple of times and everything.
So I have a couple of goodies here that I'm excited to share. And but number one, well, like Ed was staying here with us, and he'd come home from work at the office, and we would get into it. And then it occurred to me, shit, I haven't read this book in like 15 years. Like I read it when it first came out, and I was all in. So I reread this fresh to be a better conversationalist, and that's brought it to this place we are right now. So it's all connected. My son, 12 years old, London. I go, hey, we're gonna go down to a set. Now my other kids have been on different sets, and I said to London, listen, and the sets are they sound like they're gonna be cool. They're honestly pretty boring. Like most of it, unless you're doing a job, and Tom is nodding, he knows, unless you are doing something, you are waiting around, right? And also everyone's busy. Like they're at work. Don't mess around. Like stay out of the way. So I told my son, I go, listen, we're going to go. We'll hang out. They were filming downtown here in Portland. They were filming at a bank, at the U.S. Bank downtown Portland. So they were doing two setups at once. They were doing an inside bank robbery with machine guns and blah blah blah, right out of the book. And right outside in the parking garage, the leads are doing a shootout as they're trying to get a getaway. So both of these things are happening at basically around the same time, right? So I tell London, listen, we're going to go there. There's free food, but it might be boring, and we'll take off. But we're here to support our friend, and blah blah blah. We get there. We're not there for a minute, and they go, and action, and they start robbing a bank, guns ablazing, people screaming, machine guns going off, and and then they cut and B-roll go, and then right in front of us they blow off squibs. The lead actor has like blood flying, and which is really, for a movie like that, just about every cool thing you could see he saw in 4 minutes, right? Which is not how sets usually go. Tom, am I right?
Yeah, you
could sit around.
Is to be bored and not to accidentally get in someo's way and get in trouble.
Or to get accidentally addicted to cookies because they're just sitting there and they're free, and you can, So my son in 4 minutes saw just about every cool thing you could see, including squib, which I will say for parenting is really great, because anytime you see something violent, you go, that's fake, right? And like, yeah, like there's a context to whether or not he's going to get to see John Wick this summer. Anyway, so it was a great experience to show my son, this is how they make the donuts, right? This is the cool thing. It really was kind of special and amazing. So I just wanted to share that thing. The other fun thing was that, speaking of which, my son being 12 went, are those cookies free? And then when like you tell a 12-year-old, all those Oreos are free. He was more into that. And Ed did have a moment where like, he's more into the cookies. I go, well, he's 11 out of 12. Yeah, what are you gonna do? The squib was 10 minutes ago. That's yesterday's news. Now it's cookie time.
I was on set for the unlicensed boxing movie from it was the 90s, Gladiator, Cuba Gooding and James Marsden in that movie. And I know what you mean. Yeah, I know a lot of downtime. So I hear you. Absolutely.
I will
Well,
say
I was that son. My dad worked on Boardwalk Empire.
Wow.
Really?
Wow.
He was,
Good regard.
he was the second unit DP. And
That's awesome.
so he was literally the guy that would get shot at for every single like shootout. So I got to see him basically behind glass with his, with the camera they were shooting on film. And yeah, a bunch of people just shooting Tommy guns literally right in his face. So that was pretty fun. Yeah. I'll always remember that.
That's really awesome. That's
and
super
your son
cool.
will always remember that. I guarantee it.
Wow.
Dylan is
Yeah.
still watching us, and I wanted to include this comment because I actually have a visual to accompany it. And he said for some reason he's not able to comment in the regular section. But he said, I started reading Criminal with Volume 2 of the deluxe edition because Volume 1 was sold out. The story Bad Night with Jacob was my first story. It was great to see the Frank Kafka comic strip in Coward. It gave me a Pulp Fiction Reservoir Dogs feel.
Yeah.
Powell, his significant other that was on camera, read them in order, and we both had comparable feelings towards the story and characters. The story reads so well in many ways. It's masterful. And here, I'm going to show, because, I loved the idea that they would go back during the whole criminal thing with these Kafka strips. Obviously, a big Tracy Chet Gould kind of vibe to this.
Yeah. Did anybody else have a like reading it out of order situation? Anyone read like the last volume first or anything like that? Or are we a bunch of completists? Because I will tell you again, going back to Mission Impossible, just this week, me, Fraction, Rucka, and Lieber, Steve Lieber, went to go see Mission Impossible. In the theater, Steve turns to us and goes, I've never seen one of these before.
You went to see this one?
It's the 8th movie of a 30-year franchise. We could not get over this. I mean, I don't even remember if the trailers were. We were just like, what? What are we doing here? This is part 2 of them. Anyway, so and we started talking about those times where you accidentally or on purpose engage with a piece of content like out of order or found it. And mine was like I turned on HBO and accidentally watched the series finale of The Leftovers without ever having seen an episode.
Oh, wow.
And it was such a great experience that I've never watched The Leftovers. Like it will not be better than this. And I wanted to write to the filmmakers, by the way, you made a perfect film. Like I was completely engaged.
You know,
I can tell Damon that. I could tell.
Yeah, that's 100% happened. I wasn't even sure what I was watching, and something grabbed you, like something just grabs you, and like, oh, this is The Leftovers. Oh, what's happening? And then an hour and a half later, I'm like, oh, I just watched the end of a series.
I know Damon's a fan of yours, so I think he'd be very complimented by it.
I'm blanking on who created The Sopranos.
David Chase.
David Chase. Okay, I knew it was David. Yes. So I met David Chase for the premiere of the first episode of the second season. HBO had a private screening for a bunch of radio people, and I was able to go. And I told him the 4th episode of the first season, the title of it was College, and that's where Tony takes Meadow for all the different colleges on the East Coast, and he runs into, or he sees a former mobster that's been in the witness protection program, that in the mob family, if you see this guy, he's got to go. And so Tony, and this is when Tony's first opening to Meadow, and she's really starting to get, okay, really, my dad's just not in waste management. This is what he really does. And she's like, and he's like, hey, you're an adult now. I got to be honest with you. And yet he's got to do this job. And David, I was talking to David about it, and he said, you know, if I didn't get the series greenlit, that episode, I would have expanded into a 90-minute movie. And just like what Brian is describing, it really is a perfect one and done story. It really, and also you have the priest visiting the wife. Townie, who I love. I love that actress, and it's not Livia. Livia's his mom. I'm blanking on Carmela.
Carmela, that's right.
Yeah. And it's such a great little story, and I love when there are individual moments in these tapestry series that you can point to. I would even say that about the first season of the TNT Titans show that you can also watch on Max. And I said, you know, if you really want a great single done in one, go to the first Jason Todd episode. and the conversations between Jason and Dick Grayson. And it's really great because you get these two different perspectives of Bruce from these two Robins. And Jason is very like, hey man, you blew it. You walked away from him. He's the greatest guy in the world, and X, Y, and Z. And it's these really interesting, intense conversations. So yeah, that I love when you can find a single, even Born Again, the bank robbery episode, I thought was really for Daredevil. I'm like, that's a great done in one. Okay. And I loved it. And some people are like, yeah, it's nothing to do with the major plot. Well, no, it's a lot of course it did.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, there are people that are complaining about the Superman robots and the tease that we got for the James Gunn movie. And it's like, they don't know. It's okay. Everyone's, art hits you in various ways. But yeah, man, that's so funny. But
one of my oldest years ago was dating someone who revealed to me that they only watched the third movie in trilogies, that they've only seen Iron Man 3, Spider-Man 3, and I literally turn to my daughter and go, "Get him the fuck out of here! This is
Spider-Man 3.
This is a giant red flag. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it represents, but it's a giant red flag."
Which, by the way, not great, but good.
Say again?
I said Godfather 3, and I'm like, which, by the way, is good, not great.
No, it's just having, if you only saw Godfather 3
Yeah, exactly.
and there's no effort to see the other two, this is what I'm like, think about what's going on there. And then celebrating that, like telling me I only watched the third movie in trilogies.
Wait, he's celebrating? He's like, I have
Yeah,
a
that's he told me. That's his
This is
engagement.
my thing.
Jeez.
And I talk, and I'm so into people's engagement. I like, tell me about this, and you find out he has a completely warped view of the Marvel universe, which I was delighted by, like how you only see these, right? And then I was like, yeah, this is there's trouble brewing here.
That's hilarious. Man,
the only person I've ever commented to my daughters about. Anyway, all right.
Everyone is throwing in their favorite threes to.
No, I'm telling you, it does. If someone said it does sound like the beginning of a villain's storyline, like that. That's the something. A big red flag for everyone to see. Anyway,
Ethan on the private chat goes, he needed a thing. He didn't have a thing, man, and that's his move. So Ethan,
God
you could have
bless.
said that out. You're still you're still on camera, man. You could have said that out loud, man.
Yeah, well, some people need a thing. When you're young, sometimes people have they just need a thing. They're like, I always have a banana in my backpack. That's my thing, and when you're young,
I will say I think about this gentleman often. I do this.
Now I'm going to think of him often. He's like, I'm not seeing any of these movies because they're not the sequels to sequels. I'm staying home.
Rocky 3,
2 more.
What I got to ask is, did
Nerds in Paradise?
Did he know what you did, Brian?
100%. Yes.
To tell a writer, I only watched the third.
I'm sure Tom has this too.
If you're just some random guy.
No, the people say things to writers that are incredible. I delight in them.
Well, but he was trying to date your daughter.
No, they were dating. They were.
No, that's my point.
You come over. It's not a surprise what world I'm living in. Like this is.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I only read the third issue of all of your comments.
Way to
Powers 3 was pretty.
Yeah.
New Avengers 3 is when I came in.
No, but and Tom, this one. Like Fraction has that statement. I brought it up a lot to our students about how, and I'm going to say this out loud. I'm going to ruin someone's night, and I apologize. But that no matter who the creators are, no matter what the genre, that your third issue is probably really your first issue.
Oh my god! I feel like I'm terrible at second and third issues.
But
I'm back on board on 4.
You read that interview.
This idea
you decided to live his life based on that interview.
Yeah.
Wow.
This idea rings very true to me. This like even knowing that Matt has incepted me with this idea, I work on my first issues and I think, is this my third issue? Like I go like he's right. Like, is this a third issue, first issue? Because that's what I want it to be. And even then, when I get to third issue, I go, God damn it. Like, you always come up with a better take that it's good. Your third issue doesn't suck. You got a good idea for it. But you still go, oh, that would have been a great first issue, thing. It still sticks with me. But anyway, it made me think about this guy in his third movie.
That was fantastic. Don't kid yourself. That was amazing. Zach, and I had forgotten about this. And here's a perfect example of hey, remember when you did this? No, I don't, because literally it was 17 years ago. But Zach says, call back to Word Balloon After Dark, which I used to do with Matt a lot. And there was one with Ed on there as well. And it is hilarious. But he said Matt wanted to do a Frank Kafka story. And obviously Matt's been a little busy with his own shit and everything. But yeah, man, that would be great for someone, if not Ed and Sean, to someone else do a Frank Kafka story and everything. That'd be fantastic.
That's a great idea. I do remember you doing those after Word Balloon After Dark. Do you remember them now?
No, I remember doing them
Okay,
in general. I just didn't remember that specific kernel of that. And that might have even been at the Anaheim WonderCon, where the three of us are sitting on a bench, and I've literally got my portable digital recorder, and they're just fucking around with me, which was great. Truly, and really, it's great to have Tom and Brian here together. And I'm all about, and not that I'm dying or anything like that, guys, but much like Brian, I had a little shock to the system health-wise last summer. And when I have the opportunity, I try to tell my friends how much, they mean to me. And really, Brian and Tom, all the years you guys have come back and shared these stories and what you're thinking about at the time when you're making the stuff that you make. It means so much, and it really does enhance the show. But it really, I take it personally in a good way that you're willing to share that kind of shit.
No, I'm thrilled that you said that, and maybe that's a good place to wrap up this, because I could do a blank check for hour on this, but it is a school night.
Well,
but,
I know it is a school night, and I know King's got to go to bed. All the East Coast people have to go to bed.
This came about specifically to have this exact conversation and this energy, and to bring our community together to have a conversation that we're always pining for that other people to have. So I'm thrilled this worked out so well. Tom, I'm thrilled that you joined us.
Big surprise.
Nice surprise.
I'm like, wait a minute, King's here. Okay, great.
This is 100% not planned by me. Surprise. So that's awesome.
And Oming was going to join us, and I'm sorry he didn't, but go ahead.
He's floating around. He's texting me.
Yeah, I know he's probably watching at home.
Well, one thing I just wanted to say that, this book started these two guys, Brubaker and Phllips. They're still doing creator-owned stuff. It's almost 20 years later to the year. They, them together, they haven't done anything else.
Yeah, but
that's
that,
amazing.
They had Sleeper, don't forget, too, at Wildstorm.
Well, right, but I mean, since this book, they've only done creator-owned stuff, and I'm trying to think, is there any other, very few creative teams do that very often, with powers and etc. Obviously,
no, but it is something I must say I aspire to when other people or when our friends are doing it, and part of the journey I'm on right now is looking at like I must say, Ed in my life, Ed's always been when Ed leaves the company, I used to go, where'd Ed go? Like when we were at Caliber, Ed's like, I'm out of here, and I was like, why? And then 2 minutes later, the rest of them went, oh shit, Ed was right. Let's get the fuck out of here. And there's been a couple of times where Ed has made a choice that I went, huh? And then a year later went, oh, that was an excellent choice. And including dedicating so much of his life to creator owned and planting seeds that may not pay off, but they must be planted. And so this is part of the celebration to me is watching these things. And even like the pivot into graphic novel format on some of these, he was a little ahead of the curve on that as well. Now it's kind of standard procedure for some publishers, but these things I really admired them and looked up to them and made some choices on my own, inspired by what's going on in this book itself. So
if I may, G Corrijo points out he's got a couple issues of Brubaker's Low Life, and he's surprised to see how far back Brubaker's Archie obsession goes. Well, I remember one of my favorite conversations with Ed, where he said, my retirement plan is to kick back and just write Jughead stories until I die. And I love, and of course, Last of the Innocents, another great arc of Criminal, is absolutely Riverdale in a very different way. If we all know the CW Riverdale and how they portrayed the Archies in real life, it's like it's definitely got that criminal bent, but it's clearly based on the gang. And as they grow up, things didn't go well. And it's another great criminal story if people haven't read it.
Well, and for those who are asking, thank you. I'm glad we all enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. The idea that would be a monthly affair, that we would come together at the beginning of every month with a new project, giving us a whole month to luxuriate and make our thoughts and comments on it. And so if I can be so bold as to put out, because the Jinx World Discord already kind of picked the next one, it will not be a hardship to anybody. But if everyone would like to join us for a look at the first 12 issues of Saga, and have this conversation, I would love to see everyone join us, including Tom, if you would be so. Oh man, you're ready. Son had it on the table. So this was a book that I had not revisited in a long time, and revisited recently for my own reasons, and was blown away, and dying to talk to you all about it. From there, we can bring it up to a vote and have people like throw out things that they would want to do. But I did want to kind of set the table with Criminal and Saga. I thought it was a nice table setting, and we could take it from there. But,
so you haven't done. You're going to do Saga next.
No, we will do Saga at the beginning.
Okay, yeah, all right, that's fine.
What month is it?
Because
June, like
yes, in July. Yeah,
beginning of July, we can do Saga.
Okay.
While everyone else is talking Superman, and we'll do Saga.
All right, that's fine. But also after that, and I'm just going to suggest it, we can discuss and vote. But I would really like to explore Joe Casey's series Sex, and it's not as salacious as the title would suggest, and it's great. I really loved it, and in fact, prior to Brian suggesting this, I was kicking around the idea of doing a Word Balloon book club, and I was really thinking about doing Sex. And I know Joe would join us, and
sure.
I think.
Well, I know it's funny about creators joining us, because when we were doing Wonder Woman, I was like, Kelly Sue's next door. I can, the vote was, let's have a conversation without the creators there.
Oh, okay.
Like we can have a more robust conversation. It becomes more curated. Like you get more like, I don't want to offend anybody or start critiquing, so we can or do both, like we did for J.H. Williams. We did an Echoland book club, and then went, hey, let's get J.H. Williams in here. Let's ask, and had an amazing conversation with him. Someone I don't know very well, and I couldn't.
Well, Jim's great.
Yeah, I just
sweetheart of a guy. Yeah, sweetheart of a guy.
Didn't have any interactions with him other than just wow, and walked away from the conversation loving him even more. So
Rucka really clued me in on him, and I've had solo conversations with Jim since. And you see, I don't do that. It's like J.M. DeMatteis. It's like Mark. I'll call him Mark. I call him Jim. That kind of thing. But it's no, that's cool. And honestly, that's great. And I'm glad. If that's the plan, Saga, I'm cool with that.
We had talked about this. You don't remember talking to me? We had a private conversation about this.
You know how many joints I've smoked since then?
Right.
Come on, it's legal in Illinois. I can disclose. It's all right.
Bravo.
But no, I'm kidding. I vaguely remember now that you say that, and that's great.
Yeah.
I'm for it. No, I love I love Brian Vaughn. He's great.
Hey,
got the Muppet voice. Exactly, man. Good man. No, that'd be great. That'd be fun.
Well, this was wonderful. I could go another hour, but I do want everyone to get off stage while we're having a good time. But
I will obligate you and Oming coming on to preview Powers coming back.
Oh hell yeah! No. There's gonna be no end to us talking about Powers.
And King, the same thing. Tom, great ending to Black Canary. Someone else mentioned it in the chat earlier. And
Tom King, did you walk away?
Well, and John, great job in Black Canary as the sideline announcer.
Tom put all the words in my mouth. That's quite
also John's been one of the very few characters that appeared in both Marvel and DC Comics now, because he was also Principal Suntress.
Yes, Principal Suntress.
So,
right.
Yeah.
And Gavin Guidry put me in his Superman 78 book as a Russian newspaper guy, and Francis Manipul put me in the Flash when he was writing it and or drawing it. I forget which, but
are you getting some of this art, John? You need a wall of yourself in your place.
Hey man, I have so many screen caps and God, of course, Immerman put me in Ultimate Spider-Man originally as Principal Suntress, as did Brian, and also was graced by Sarah Pacelli and Somni drew me as Principal Suntress.
You had a good run
yeah,
there.
I'm one of the casualties of the ultimate wave, the tidal wave that wiped everybody out. If I remember correctly.
Midlobe. Tom, let me ask you: did you walk away with your experience with Ryan Sook feeling as empowered by the universe as I did? I just loved it to death. I just.
Yeah, it was. I mean, talk about working with a net or whatever. You're just like, I cannot believe everything looks so much better than I had it in. I'm pretty good at predicting what it's going to look like. And I was like, oh my God, this is incredible.
100%. And as soon as I saw you two working together, I literally went, oh, good. He's going to have that. It was one of the greatest experiences in my whole life of comics was doing those issues with him. And I was like, oh, you're going to have that experience too. That is so exciting.
And he's so nice and he's so down to earth and just like has no ego at all. He's like, well, should I do it this way? I was like, you're Ryan Sook. Do it whichever way your opinion is better than my opinion.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled you had that experience. That's awesome.
Yeah, no.
And Zach reminds me of Dave LaFuente also drew.
David LaFuente did it too.
I did not want to leave David out. So yes, absolutely.
You may need a Tash and Coffee table book of Principal.
My appearances. Truly embarrassment of riches, guys. For all, and Jeremy Hahn has put me in his image books, and it's incredibly sweet that you guys do that. It really.
We need a Suntress museum, John.
But it blows my family away because they really are like, oh, they do know who you are, don't they? My God, I mean that great scene in the two great scenes in Ultimate Spider-Man when Matt May comes in and tries to get Iceman, and what's her face? Amazing Friends. Firestar, yeah. In Peter's school, and the principal's like, look, I don't know if Peter's Spider-Man, and I don't want to know, but there's a lot of shit going down in this school, and that can't happen. And also when I'm yelling at the PTA meeting, and
that one
Ron Richards of iFamily goes, your scene went for like 5 fucking pages. And I'm like, I had anything to do with it other than inspiring Brian.
That's more of a me issue than a you issue. But but
it was awesome. And again, forgive me for making it about me for a minute, but there you go.
All right. So lessons we learned: follow your own muses, go to the original genre source, team up with your friends that will inspire better work out of you. Like me and Tom have both experienced that amazing feeling of getting to reach for something you couldn't get to on your own, but being teamed up with someone and the two of you can get there together is an amazing experience. And the, I don't know, just the results can be just life-changing, both behind the scenes and the product itself. And it was fun to celebrate this book with all of you. And
Tom, answer Mario's question before we go. Black Canary 2, potentially.
Let Ryan rest. Let's rest.
Okay,
he drew the crap out of that for a while. I'll talk to him in 6 months and see.
Listen, okay. I didn't kill him with Legion. I think you can get him with a Black Canary. You'll get it. Yeah. Just
Garo gives us the Bob Barker get your dog spayed or neutered. Everybody, the price.
There you go.
Thing. So yeah, all thanks. Right. Hey, great job, everyone that participated both in the chat and on camera. This will podcast soon, right? This will be out for everyone.
Oh
no, the word or the YouTube
was live,
and the audio will be out tomorrow, Monday.
Oh, great.
Fantastic. So yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think for the next one we will pre-record because that way we can let more people in on the conversation if there are more people, and hopefully this will entice more League of Word Balloon listeners and more Discord people to jump in and be part of the discussion. That would be great.
Well, I did get hit with, hey, it's the last week of school on a Sunday night bit from.
Yeah, we'll do it earlier.
So
yeah,
we'll figure out better time. In the summer.
We'll do. I don't mind Sunday or Saturday, but yeah, we should do it earlier to get all the coasts involved.
All right. Well, let's plug Tom. Let's do. Helen's got a definitive collection coming out from Dark Horse. Correct? Is that?
Yes, Helen Windhorn's from Dark Horse definitive collection, but.
Anything else you want to hit while we're plugging?
No, but by all
Trinity.
I am here just to listen.
Trinity.
Well, I will tease this.
I just picked up Masterpiece. They were selling it at my local bookstore, and I was very excited.
Yay!
Masterpiece is amazing.
Fantastic book.
With an awesome Ryan Sook variant cover. There you go.
There you go. This week on Word Balloon, I've already got scheduled. Mike Norton is going to come on tomorrow, because the Revival sci-fi TV show is starting in a couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And Mike is the co-creator of that. Hopefully Seeley will join us as well. But if not, Mike will have a lot to say. Tuesday, I'm so sorry that his Metamorpho run with Al Ewing ended, but Steve Lieber, another Portland boy, will be joining me.
Ooh.
And
please get his review of Mission Impossible and
what I hear.
what he described afterwards, like
He only sees the
me,
eighth version.
Rucka, and Fraction yelling at him in the parking lot. Said this is I forgot how he worded it. He worded it so perfectly. He goes, "This is literally like being online." And someone goes, "Oh, you didn't read Superman 97? Well, Superman 97." It's literally we tortured him with this about Ethan Hunt, and it was pretty hilarious. So please,
as I say, if I could pick up and move to any city, I would move to Portland, because literally there's like 20 people that would be like, move back to Chicago because you're annoying and leave us alone. So yes, and Lieber is part of that. Rucka and Fraction and you,
and also go into a deep dive with Lieber about the Jimmy Olsen cover.
Yes, because the big new deluxe hardcover is coming out. Absolutely, that's why I bugged him. Absolutely,
career highlight cover for this man. It's incredible. Watching him build it face by face was incredible, and then it come out. Tom, are you on the cover? I can't remember. Are you in the montage, the Lieber Jimmy Olsen montage?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. But my readers are now DC canon. They're in the drawing. I'm very excited.
You know that book beat Supergirl for an Eisner, so I'm still mad at them for that. So
I understand the feeling, but when it's that book or something like that, like when I've lost
it's still good.
Alan Moore, like great, perfect. That's please. The other thing would be weird. So that's how I look at it.
Beautiful.
No. So,
all right, boys and girls, thanks a lot for playing. And until next time, everybody stay safe, stay happy.
Read comics.
Read comics, indeed.
All right.
Let's
we'll talk sometime. Thanks,
good night,
John.
everybody.
All right, bye, everybody.